Some good tips. Joining us now is Judith Gerberg. She is a Manhattan-based career counselor. Judith, good to have you here with us this morning. I imagine you're hearing a lot of really difficult, very sad stories right now. People have to be very, very upset when they come in to see you.
Well, sometimes people are very upset and filled with fear, and we can work with that. And other times, it's actually people are saying, I am so happy that I just got fired because I'm going to take my severance and I'm going to do something wonderful with it. And as the film was saying that we just saw, that it's looking for those possibilities.
Well, how often do you recommend to somebody to completely change their career or to stay in the profession they're already in?
If they've hated their job for more than a year, I would say that it's time to really refresh your choices. Because unless you refresh your choices, you're not going to have the enthusiasm to do what's necessary going forward. It's not that this, in New York City, it's not that this is an easy job market. But as we mentioned earlier in our conversation, that the job market's a little different than it was, say, after 9/11 or even after in the 80s. Well, in 9/11, the economy was going south from January. I had been out of the country. When I came back, I could tell, because I'm like this little canary in front of the markets, that the economy was going very much down. And when 9/11 hit, it was totally flat. What I'm seeing now is with certain credentials, people are getting jobs, people are getting promotions, and people are finding ways of, for opportunities.
So there are opportunities out there. That's actually very hopeful to hear that. How do you find that opportunity? What do you recommend to people?
Well, first of all, I recommend that they have a plan A, B, and C. Plan A is if you need financial income right now, is to use your highest credentials or the ones that you forgot about. I had a client who had been working in children's media for a very long time, and she sort of wasn't paying attention to the fact that she actually had a teacher's license, and she's brilliant with children, just brilliant with children. And so taking that out of her toolbox so that she could create some income while she continues looking at other opportunities.
Is this a good time of year to be looking for a job? This is the holidays. We've got Hanukkah, we've got Christmas, we've got New Year's. Is this a difficult time?
Well, it's, if you take a optimistic point of view, you say, well, it's a great time to develop relationships, to help with the company party, to go to professional organizations' Christmas events and holiday events, so that you can use this time to build one of the 3 C's that I like to tell people about, which is, I like the idea of building credentials, building credibility, and building contacts. So while you may not get exactly the job that you want, at this moment, it's a great time to start having conversations.
So this is the time of year to be making contacts, because people are socializing at this time of year, so it's a good time to be doing that. We saw in Lauren's story that there are jobs out there, as you were saying as well, but you may have to accept lower pay, perhaps, or maybe not start at the level you might expect to start at. Is that what people need to think about? Yes.
Well, people need to think about a couple of things. I love New York, as you do. And the question is, do we have to stay in New York? Or are there opportunities outside of New York in some of the other major markets? You know, if you have very high strategy skills in terms of new media, you might look into Austin and Houston in Texas. You might look into San Francisco, great city. You might look into Chicago. There are places outside of New York that have opportunities, and then when things, as we all anticipate, will get better, you can return.
So people have to be open to consider moving, maybe.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
The other thing is, if you're currently employed, but you know your employer is possibly going to be letting people go, do you go to your boss and say, am I okay?
You go to your boss and you talk about how you've contributed to the bottom line or how you've saved the company money. You give them reasons for noticing that you're on their team and that you're willing to work really hard.
Okay, but you don't go to the boss and say, am I on the pink slip list?
Right. One of the things that's going on now is you don't know if you're on the pink list, or nor does your boss, because whole departments can be eliminated because of a parent company.
Right, and that's something you're seeing more of, is that it's not just 1 or 2 people, it's whole blocks within companies that are being...
Exactly.
depleted, deleted,
right.
taken away.
Or as companies, particularly in financial services, are merging, what's happening is that there's redundancy. And with redundancy, what you have is if your CEO isn't the one that lands on top, and you are doing a job that's similar to the job at the other company, I would suggest seeing a career counselor before you get your pink slip.
And that becomes that third C again, is contacts, not just in outer areas, but within your own company, too.
Absolutely.
To have those contacts, not just on one floor, but on multiple floors within the company, right?
Right, and also mentoring people. Those people may be the ones who can tell you about jobs because their friends are in other organizations too. So it's not only realizing the executives above you and next to you, but also your subordinates.
Subordinates below you. Okay, we have some questions that viewers had sent in, and so I want to go over some of them. Tom in Rockland County writes, he says, I am in the over 40 segment of the population, have been out of work for 6 months. How do I know that age discrimination is not an issue? What would you say to Tom?
Well, first of all, I would ask Tom if he's in a field where he hasn't been keeping up. For instance, if Quark Express in the field of graphic arts, if Quark Express had been the norm and now everybody is doing InDesign and you didn't learn this new material, you're going to be behind. So it's very hard to prove age discrimination if you haven't been hired. It's not the strategy that I would recommend. I would recommend being curious about A, what it is that you do need, and B, if you need to start selling yourself for what it is that you're bringing, your reliability.
And making sure that you're keeping up to date with any new technologies in the industry that you are working in.
Exactly.
Good point.
Such an important point. Yeah.
Gia from Queens writes, what can I possibly do to set myself apart from other job applicants besides have a college education on my resume? What do you say to Gia?
Well, I hope that she did some internships while she was in college so that she could build up her resume that way. If not, she can take a leadership role right now in her alumni association or in any other organization that she gets involved with. It's really a time to, we were talking about credentials. So one of them is show that you're bringing something to an organization. And you can also do volunteer work. I have a volunteer with me today. And you can also do internships. But if you're going to do an internship, or especially an unpaid internship, do it in the area that you're really interested in. So you build up your resume around what you want to do.
Right, and a good internship should help you build contacts as well, correct?
Exactly.
Because we have lots of interns here at WABC, and we hope that all of them are building contacts while they're here. Okay, we've got one other quick question, and this is from Francis, and he is in Clifton, New Jersey, and he says, I have been laid off since September. Some of the people I interviewed with are assuming that I have such a good background, I won't want to work for them after the job market gets better. He wants to know, how do I project to them that if the job I'm applying for works out and I fit well, that I'm not going to leave them and look for another job?
Right. Well, I think that also works both ways, that they also have to show him that they're going to invest in him, that he's willing to start from wherever they have an opening. Perhaps he's already demonstrated an interest in the field by joining an organization or a professional organization that's related to their business, and he can bring them ideas, or he's been reading in the area or taking a course or something so that he shows that he has commitment. And then showing them through any other long-term commitments that he's had, that he is a person who likes to stay put. He's been married for 40 years, he's done all of these other things, he's a member of the Kiwanis for da-da-da, and then what he can do is show his loyalty to organizations.
Right. Great points. Judith, thank you so much. Really good information. And I know these are tough times, but we certainly hope that they've helped folks out. When we come back, we've got an important reminder about a big change that is taking place very soon. We'll have that and more after.